Okay, here's an example of a bridge that's more difficult to draw. This is a little bit more personal to us because it's the Mackinac Bridge. So it's a bridge that many of us have traveled over. It's a staple of the UP. And so some of us might want to try and draw something like this. It's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging. So what we're going to do when we start out with a complicated picture, we're going to look at a real picture to base our drawing off of. Drawing from life gives you more accurate drawings. So you can see I kind of divided my picture off. Here's half, about halfway on the picture, and here's about halfway on the picture on the side. And then I also made marks that would be about a quarter of the way. So a quarter over here and a quarter over here. It's kind of like a ruler. Here would be 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and a whole. Same on this side. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and a whole. So I divided this up to give me some reference points so I can get the right proportions on my paper. So you can see, you can't see my whole paper, but I did divide it up into about the halfway mark right in here and about the halfway mark over here. And then I lightly drew marks where it will be about the quarter. So that gives me a reference point. So I'm going to keep my picture on my paper so I can kind of look and see where I need to go. So I can notice that the horizon line is right where the water line is. It's kind of hard to see. And then there's also this tree line above here. So I need to make a line that's below a quarter of the way. It's way below halfway. So on my paper, I kind of did this ahead of time. I erased it. Here is my quarter mark. So I'm going to make the tree line a little bit below that quarter mark. So I line my ruler up and then go ahead and make a mark. Then there's a little bit of a space. You can see the water is right below that, kind of right here where the bridge ends. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a space, maybe like a finger's width. And I'm going to actually go ahead and draw another reference line underneath there. Now I need to have a vanishing point. Again, that's where all the points kind of seem to come together because this part is farther away and this part is closer. So up here these things seem bigger and this seems smaller over here. That's how visually things change. So we're going to establish a vanishing point. Now we have to pay attention to what kind of a line we have here. This, we're going to do the bottom part of the bridge first. So it's about in between halfway and a quarter where this bridge is. So our first line, we're going to have just a little bit above where the tree line is. Here is our tree line, and so probably right about here is where our bridge would start. And we kind of have to think about, it goes kind of straight and then it goes up a little bit and then it kind of comes steeply down. So that's the kind of line that we're going to draw on our paper. So I'm sketching, which means I'm using straight, short little lines instead of doing one long line. It's unrealistic for me to think I can draw this accurate in one little sweep. So I'm just going to go little by little and use sketching lines. So this part has gone pretty straight, and now just about before halfway, okay, here's halfway on my paper, I'm going to start going up just slightly. So now I'm going to start to go up just slightly, and I'm going to kind of keep going up, and then the high point is right about here, so just a little bit past halfway, which I am, and now I'm going to start to come down and I'm going to aim right to this vanishing point over here. So now you can see it starts to curve down, and I'm aiming right to that vanishing point. Now the top part is going to be easier, and I might want to later kind of smooth this little part out right here, and I can erase a little bit of that. So the top part pretty much mimics the bottom part. It doesn't curve up as much, so it's a little smoother. So maybe I wanted to start over here at the vanishing point, and I'm just going to start the vanishing point. I'm going to start going up because it's a little bit wider here. And again, the top part, the highest part, is a little bit past halfway, right around here on my paper. So I could even make a little mark like that's the high point. And I'm going to go down to my vanishing point. And then this part kind of smooths off a little bit. And it comes pretty straight out here. You can see this is significantly wider here, whereas I get down here, it's a lot less wide. That's because as things get farther away, they appear to be smaller. So we pretty much have our bridge part determined. Now we're going to do these tall parts. I can see based on my halfway mark that the first part, okay, it happens a little bit before halfway, and then the second part happens a little bit before this quarter mark. So we're going to go ahead and be a little bit before halfway, and I'm going to use my ruler so I can make a nice straight line, and I'm going to go pretty high up, and I'm going to make sure it's as straight as I can get it, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line all the way through the bridge, all the way through the trees, stopping at the water line about. Now I'm going to move over just a little bit so I can establish the width of this pillar, we'll call it, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Now we're going to skip over, so we just did this part. Now we're going to skip over and do this part. Something that's different about this part, when I get here to the bridge, I'm not going to be able to draw straight through it because this pillar is behind. It's on the other side of the bridge. And though it's hard to see because it's dark, we do know that because things that are behind something else, you can't see them. So I stopped here, I'm skipping over, and I'm going to draw right down to the water. And I'm going to move over a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing. Stop here, skip over the bridge, and continue down to the bottom. So this is one pillar, we'll call it. Now the next part, we said it happens a little bit before the quarter mark. Well, I'll make this darker. Here's our quarter mark over here. But we can see that this one is, although in real life they're the same size, this one appears to be smaller because again it's farther away. So we're not going to start way up here. We're going to start, here's the halfway mark, we're going to start a little bit above halfway, between halfway and a quarter, so probably around here. And it's positioned just as it starts to go down on that slope. So I'm going to go ahead and make the same thing. Might move it over just a little bit more. All the way through, because this is the first one, down to the water line. Leave a little bit of a gap. This is going to be a little bit skinnier than the first one, because again it's farther away. Leave a little bit of a space, again, not as much as the first one because this is farther away and it appears to be smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and stop when I get to the bridge, skip over it, and continue down. Leave a little space. Stop when I get to the bridge, skip it, and go down to the water mark. So now you have your two pillars. The next thing that we're going to work on are these little arches. So if you did the basic bridge, we did an arch that was like a U. These arches aren't quite so rounded, so we're actually going to come up, we're just going to curve over just slightly, and then it's going to be kind of like a straight line, and then it's going to curve right back down into that straight part. Then if I go up to the top, we can see that it goes up a little ways, so we're going to go up, curve over, kind of straight, and then it's going to curve down. And then this is a straight line on top of that. And then I have to go up again, a little bit of an arch, straight over, and a little bit of an arch again. Then we're going to go straight across, and I have to fit one more, and the one on top is a little bit smaller looking. I might have to give myself a little bit more room and extend those pillars, because I have to fit 3 in there. And this one, we could make it straight across here, but we don't really need that line, so I can erase that. I can erase it better later. And the top kind of comes up in like a little bump. You could make it more triangular if you wanted to. And then there's this part that comes down just a little bit. So that's one pillar. So then I'm going to go ahead and do the other pillar really quick. Scooch this over so we can see it. So same thing on the bottom. We have small little arch. And then on the top, and these are going to be a little bit smaller looking because we have to fit them all in the same 3 still, but they just look like they're smaller and closer together. And then the last one. And we can do these little peaks and then do this part that's going across the top. Now, the last part I'm going to show you how to do right now would be the cables. And we can see the cable comes from this one down to the bridge on a straight part and this one down to the bridge on a straight part. So we are just going to start by drawing a single line, and you want to kind of mimic the curve. It kind of cuts across through this first one and the corner of that one, and it swoops down to like here. So we kind of have to just give ourselves a rough idea, and you can see again that I'm sketching. And I'm going to go to the other side, and now this one doesn't end at the same point, it ends a little bit farther ahead. Still kind of following the same curve, like that. And then I'm going to go on the other side, and I can see that there's 2 cables that come kind of towards the middle here. The first one goes the farthest to the right, and the second one that starts behind here, again I have to kind of skip over a few things. Cuts down through here and ends a little bit more to the left. Now these other 2 cables over here, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. Start here, this one kind of goes over a little bit more to the left, and this one comes down here, ending more to the right. And on the other side, this first one's going to go the farthest, and then I'm going to start from this pillar back here, just like the picture. Comes down and ends right there. So that's the basic drawing of a little bit of a more complex, complicated bridge. We'll do the shading later.